It's the anniversary. 6 months, folks. 6 months since the haves and the have-nots aired its final episode on the OWN network. It was, good grief, July 20th, 2021. And yes, I say that today is the anniversary. I do not consider the Final Cast reunion the anniversary. I'm talking about the day from when the final episode aired. This video is pretty much kind of just a brief reflection video. Don't expect like a full-on summary of the series and whatnot. I have an entire... The show is how the channel got started. If you don't know what my thoughts are about the show by now, I don't know what to say for you. But regardless, it's the fact that 6 months has come and gone. I just wanted to talk about, what it's been like since the haves and the have-nots ended. I think one of the biggest things to take away is the fact that I was kind of wrong. Based on the fact that the haves and the have-nots, looking at how it, and I use air quotes around the word ended, it left a sour taste in people's mouths. And to this day, I'm pretty sure it still does, because when the haves and the have-nots even comes up in conversation, which sadly it hasn't really come up that much at all, for one, obviously I haven't talked about it much, if at all on the channel anymore, mainly due to the fact that, guys, I've said everything I need to say about it. I know that I said months ago I would do my rewatch, where I would pretty much do episode reviews on the first 30 or 40 something episodes. Basically, every episode of the show that aired prior to when I did my first YouTube channel and reviewed the series. So I haven't really done that. At some point I will. I just don't have the time. Mainly due to the fact that Viacom, they don't really spread out the shows that well in comparison to, like, when I was reviewing OWN shows. It seems like they put way too many shows on the air at one time, and I barely have enough time in the day to keep up with reviewing, like, Sisters and The Oval. And, recently I just bowed out of Assisted Living, Wonder Years, Our Kind of People. I said bruh, but I've gotten a lot of pushback on that, but I will think about it. I mean, if the show goes on the 6-month hiatus like it did between seasons 2 and 3, I might do it, because maybe things will get better over the next 6 months for me. But if not, But yeah, it just seems like the haves and the have-nots has definitely fell onto the wayside. Because I remember when the show initially ended 6 months ago, people were so infuriated that they became reluctant to even continue watching the Oval, Sisters, simply because Tyler Perry so far, with these long-running, hour-long dramas or series, there's been just a knack for him not sealing the deal in the final episode. And no, I'm not saying that because the final episode doesn't end the series the way that fans want it to. It's the fact that they aren't really endings at all. Either they're sloppy or they're inconclusive. First, If Loving You Is Wrong, then The Haves and the Have-Nots. 2 hit shows that just ended. I mean, at least with If Loving You Is Wrong, you could bring it back. Sure, the final episode had some deaths in there, but aside from Randall's, you could easily get away with perhaps saying Ian, Eddie, possibly even Larry could have survived if written that way. Randall was the one who was definitely dead, but everybody else, Eddie could have been wearing a bulletproof vest since he was on duty when Esperanza shot him a few times. Larry, perhaps he could have survived. Maybe he flatlined briefly, but somebody came in time to resuscitate him. Remember the one, the one police officer found Ian in the parking garage where Eddie had the taser on him, so perhaps he could have, helped him out. there are a few ways to have those characters survive. The haves and the have-nots just kill damn near everybody off, and you could argue that it could have been just somebody's dream, so that'll be the way to bring everybody back, supposedly. But I don't even want to say we'll never know, because the next thing I wanted to talk about, aside from the reluctance to follow the Oval or Sisters, it doesn't really matter, because Sisters is more popular than ever, mainly due to the couple of Fatima and Zach, which has led to the Zatima spinoff. And a couple months back, Tyler Perry did announce that he's going to take more of an overseer role at Tyler Perry Studios, as opposed to doing every damn thing himself, writing, producing, directing. So given the fact that it seems like over the past few months, and I say this with as much respect as possible, but it seems like Tyler is really showing more. And I'm not trying to say he's never done this before, but it definitely feels like he's paying attention to what the fans want more than ever before, as opposed to being quite dismissive of any form of criticism. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. It's a pretty much running gag at this point that anytime there is a movie or television show, commercial, trailer, whatever it is, on, streaming services or television, every time there's a bad wig piece that somebody's wearing, Tyler Perry ends up trending, because it's like, oh man, that's that Fall from Grace wig, or that's that Tyler Perry style of, braids or whatever. So there's that aspect of it. Now, there's a difference between the people that drag Tyler Perry Productions, whether it be because they think it's badly acted, that the quality's trash, that the story makes no sense because Tyler just rushes to film things and write things so fast. It's just one of those things where there are those who drag anything Tyler Perry does versus the hardcore fans who want him to do better. We support the product, but we do wish there was some improvement. So after, the Diary of a Matte Black tweeter, which I'm curious if he's going to do that again during the Sisters After Show Part 2 airing this Wednesday, it just seemed like, there were those who, of course, just drag the show Sisters, but then there are those who actually talk about how the story could be written better. And I do hope that moving forward, Tyler Perry does know that even though online is the place of trolls and the haters, that there are also those who love and support what he does, but that doesn't mean we don't want to see improvement. And I say all that to say that, considering he's doing the Zatima spinoff due to the success of Zach and Fatima as a pair, which Tyler wouldn't know about if he didn't pay attention to what people were saying online, and bringing Medea back, I do think that anything is possible. So the haves and the have-nots, I could see it being brought back in some way, shape, or form in the future. Am I really pushing for it? Not really. I mean, because the cast have been, doing amazing things outside of the show. Because remember, it's like Tinka Sumner said during the reunion, for us, basically in terms of for the cast, it's been like 2 years since they finished the show, and they've all moved on to different things. That's not to say that if the timing wasn't right, Tyler couldn't get them back for, a couple of weeks in order to film a new season or at least a proper finale. But, for the sake of the fans, as somebody who's, to be completely honest, I do think I'm correct in saying that the haves and the have-nots is the first Tyler Perry show that I've watched from beginning to end. I haven't watched all of House of Pain or Meet the Browns, for better or worse, simply because I never really got into those. No. I watched them when they first came out, but this was pre-critic Jeremy, before I started reviewing stuff. And then, of course, between the changing of the time slots and being in school, college, or whatever, I didn't have the time to watch them all. Yes, I did watch If Loving You Is Wrong, but the best way to say it is the haves and the have-nots is the only Tyler Perry show I've watched from beginning to end as it aired. Not talking about like If Loving You Is Wrong, where I binged a couple of seasons before I got into it fully. No, haves and have-nots, week to week to week. So What's the legacy of the show? It really didn't end well. It's kind of like That 70s Show, or what's the Game of Thrones, where a show is, or even The Office, where a show that's generally loved by a lot of people, but they will not shy away from telling you that the last 1 or 2 seasons of those shows really wasn't that good. So they recommend, okay, watch seasons 1 through 6 or 1 through 5, but that's it. Haves and have-nots, I feel the same way, because the first like 2 to 3 seasons solid, but after that, that's when the show starts to drag, and I don't even want to watch the final season ever again, even though they uploaded it to Hulu not too long ago. I don't want to be reminded of that awful ending. And it's like I said before in that review for the video on the episode, I said, if you take like the first half of the episode, it was a strong episode in itself. But then the back half, where it was just nothing but death, was boring as I don't know what. Believe it or not, I actually rewatched the finale this morning. I woke up at 4 o'clock because I went to bed like at 9. So I decided to rewatch the finale because I knew today was the 6-month anniversary. I'm like, okay, it's been 6 months. The hype has died down. Let me just watch the finale just to watch it. And yeah, Catherine's death was still the most shocking part. But just looking at the episode again, it just left a bad taste in my mouth because of how much was set up even in the prior episode, only to have it just not mean anything. It just seemed like a rushed ending just to end it. And it was a slap in the face to people like me. And I'm talking before I even reviewed the series. People who were day oneers. And we waited almost a decade for that ending. Wow. I mean, this was definitely the ending of like a Tyler Perry movie where you do the establishment of the character. You establish the characters, what role they play, who they are, this and that. And then you get to the part where, okay, Tyler, where are we going with the movie? It's almost like he forgot that they were characters and stories to resolve. So then when we get to the last like 10 to 15 minutes, that's where we rush everything. Next thing you know, it's fade to black. So I do think the haves and the have-nots, in terms of the long run, definitely doesn't have the brightest reputation. However, any show Tyler Perry does after that, which is a drama focused show like The Oval, it's always going to be compared to the haves and have-nots. Now, The Oval is definitely kind of like, okay, this is what Candace and Charles might have done if they were in the White House, but a little bit twisted. So it definitely seems like more people would have been more invested in the Candace and Charles spinoff as opposed to The Oval as it is now. I enjoy The Oval, but it isn't perfect. I definitely feel like it has a lot of haves and have-nots inspired storylines and characters, but I will admit that The Oval does kind of feel like its own thing. So looking at all the various spin-offs and reboots and everything Tyler Perry has been doing lately, I would like the haves and the have-nots to possibly get that proper conclusion. But like I said, it's been only 6 months, so I wouldn't want the show to come back anytime soon if it's going to be like a couple of seasons. If the show was getting a proper finale or a movie, I would welcome that with open arms. But it's way too soon for a reboot or anything like that. So that's just my personal opinion. Of course, I'll always love the show because, well, it's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now. Sisters has become the new haves and the have-nots of the channel in terms of the show people want me to talk about the most. The fact that it's a show that breeds a lot of discussion. And I know someday, who knows, within the next couple of years, we'll have to say goodbye to Sisters just like we did with the haves and the have-nots. My only hope is that Tyler looks at how fans reacted to the haves and the have-nots ending and does a better job of wrapping up the storylines of the shows that are currently on the air, as well as shows he has coming up in the future. So, with that being said, yeah, how do you feel? 6 months since the haves and the have-nots came to a close. What do you remember fondly about it? What do you remember, well, not so fondly about the show? I know for me, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the cast in other Tyler Perry projects, but, we'll just have to wait and see what happens over the next few months. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you take a moment, hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit subscribe as we get closer to 200,000 subscribers. Hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description. And if you would like to donate, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App.